Multiple questions and lessons from the book, 300 questions to ask your parents before it's too late. Number 1. One thing I have learned is that our stories are intrinsically woven together with our parents. What they do is part of your story. What you do is part of theirs. As we move through our lives, we carry with us stories that shaped our souls. We may forget them, deny or change them, smile or suffer over them. But like spells or charms, these stories bring back a sense of who we were and how we came to be the people we've become. Your children want to hear stories to reassure them that the inner strength they can muster will be sufficient against self-doubt, loss, grief, and disappointment because they know their loved ones have walked in a similar path. Your children want to know what was important to you. What lessons did you learn? How did you come to this place in your life? It doesn't matter how humble or exalted. What matters is how you got there. My father once said, "When I stand before God at the end of my life, I hope that I will not have a single bit of wisdom left to share and will be able to say, I gave all my wisdom to my children." Let your wisdom be your legacy that your children will remember and use as guiding light through their own lives. Questions on what I learned from my youth. 1. What is something, an event from your childhood that has affected you the most? 2. Who were your childhood heroes? 3. What was your neighborhood like growing up? 4. As a child, what did you want to be when you grew up? 5. What was the most mischievous thing you did as a youngster? 6. How did you pull yourself out of ruts during tough times in your childhood? 7. How did you handle peer pressure when you were growing up? 8. How has society changed since you were a youth? 9. What are your views on alcohol and drugs? Were these things a part of your youth? How would you counsel me about using them? 10. When was a time you got in trouble for lying? What happened? What did you learn from the experience? 11. What are the greatest hardships you endured as a child? 12. Have you ever taken a stand against what your friends wanted to do, or did you follow the crowd? What would you have done differently? 13. What things should I stand up for, and when should I stay quiet? 14. Describe a time when you had to show courage in your youth. 15. What do you know now that you wish you'd known when you were young? 16. How did you get through hard times with bullies at school? 17. What kind of child were you? Happy, moody, popular, loner, different? 18. What positive or negative events in your youth affected you later as an adult? 19. What did you do for fun when you were a teenager? 20. Did you have any hobbies or special interests when you were a kid? How were you introduced to them? 21. What were your dreams as a teenager? What did you want to do with your life? 22. What would you teach a child about gambling? Do you believe in gambling? 23. Did you ever break the law as a youth? Or come close? What did you learn from it? 24. Name a time when you got in a lot of trouble with your parents and were grounded. What did you learn from that experience? 25. What qualities and characteristics make a true friend? 26. How did you go about selecting your friends in high school? 27. Was there ever a time in your life when you lost your self-esteem? What did you do to rebuild it? 28. What things bring you the most pleasure now as compared to when you were a youth? 29. What things frighten you now as compared to when you were a youth? 30. What 3 things did you consider becoming when deciding on college or a career? If you haven't subscribed to our channel, you probably will not see us again. If you have, congratulations, you are growing every day. Questions on the wisdom I gained from my family life. 1. What did you find most rewarding about being a parent? 2. What advice would you give me about being a good parent? 3. What special proverbs have been passed down in your family about how to make it in life or how to have peace of mind? 4. Of all the things you learned from your parents, which do you feel was the most valuable? 5. What is your favorite memory of your parents? What were they like? 6. Are there any stories about famous or infamous relatives in your family? What are they? 7. How did you and your parents learn to deal with differences? 8. How do you unconditionally love your children? 9. How did your parents discipline you? Is that the way you would recommend I discipline my children? 10. What makes your family truly unique compared to other families? 11. What special heirlooms, photos, Bibles, or other memorabilia have been passed down in your family? 12. What was your proudest moment as a parent? 13. What is your fondest memory of your family? 14. If you had it to do all over again, would you change the way you raised your family? Hello. 15. What did you find most difficult about raising children? 16. What major illnesses or health problems affected your family? 17. Who were you especially close to in the family? Why? 18. What family traditions were most important to you? 19. Briefly tell one or more of our family's best stories or tall tales. 20. What was the best advice your parents gave you? 21. What did you love most about you, father? Least? Why? 22. What did you love most about your mother? Least? Why? 23. Why did you have the number of children that you did? 24. What responsibilities did your parents require of you while growing up? How did that influence you as a parent? 25. What was the easiest thing about raising a family? Why? Questions on my views on marriage, relationships, and love. 1. What are your views on marriage? 2. What advice would you give a newlywed couple? 3. If you were married, what do you value about the relationship that you share with your spouse now? 4. What advice would you give a grandchild on his or her wedding day? 5. When did you know you were in love? 6. When was your first kiss? With whom? 7. Who was your first date? What did you do? 8. What does being in love mean to you? 9. What was your wedding day like? 10. If you could have done anything differently on your wedding day, what would it have been? 11. How did you keep your relationships alive with your spouse while we were growing up? If you were divorced, how did you get along while raising us? 12. What qualities and traditions make a good marriage? 13. What have you learned about being married? 14. If you have been divorced, what did you learn from that experience? 15. During times of trouble in your life, who did you talk to about them? How did those people help you? 16. Have you ever had a crush on or been in love with someone that didn't return your affections? How did you deal with rejection? 17. Have there been situations in your marriage where you gave in order to let your spouse be right? How did that affect the relationship? 18. Did you fight a lot with your spouse? How did you resolve your fights? 19. What qualities should I look for in a mate? 20. What are your views on divorce? 21. What are your views on separations? 22. Do you believe marriage can last forever? Why or why not? 23. Describe your marriage proposal. Was your significant other surprised? 24. Who could you trust and depend on during your life? How did these individuals help you? 25. When did you decide to marry? Questions on the people and things that influenced my life. 1. What kinds of books do you like to read? 2. Who had the most positive influence on your life? What did that person do? 3. Who helped you to develop your talents? What did they do to help you? 4. Who is your favorite philosopher, teacher, or writer? Why is he or she your favorite? 5. What person or book best expresses your philosophy on life? 6. What were the hardest choices you had to make in life? 7. Has a public speaker ever made a big impression on you? If so, who was it and what was his or her message? 8. What principle has changed the direction of your life? 9. How do you feel about the choices you made in your life? What good choices did you make? Do you have any regrets about your choices? 10. What movie has most inspired you? Why? 11. What kind of music inspired or lifted you up when you felt down? 12. If you were ever to write a book, what would it be about? 13. What kind of friend were you to others? 14. What books have you read that you enjoyed or that helped shape your life? Would you recommend that I read them? 15. What television shows did you watch? Why? 16. Where have you traveled? What are your favorite places to visit? 17. Where in the world would you recommend I visit before I die? Why? 18. Did anyone ever hurt you so much that it altered the course of your life? How did you overcome your hurt? 19. What motivates you? 20. What are your greatest abilities or talents? Describe a time when you used your talents. 21. What is the most fun and interesting thing you have done in your life that you feel I should experience? 22. How are you creative? What kind of things do you make? 23. What good deeds have you done? 24. How have you handled people that have wronged you in life? 25. Have you ever met anyone famous? Who? Questions on my philosophy about the world. 1. What world events had the most impact on you while you were growing up? Did any of them personally affect your family? 2. How is the world today different from when you were a child? 3. What would you consider the most important inventions that have been made during your lifetime? 4. What wars have been fought during your lifetime? How did you feel about them? 5. How did you feel about September 11th, 2001? Where were you when this happened? 6. How did you feel about the Gulf War? What are your opinions about it? 7. What are your views on voting? Have you ever held an office? 8. Who is your favorite U.S. president? How do you feel about the office of the U.S. president? 9. Have you ever witnessed any extraordinary events? What were they? 10. What natural disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, and so on, have you survived? 11. How did the civil rights movement or the women's liberation movement affect your family? 12. How has war affected you and your family? Which war affected you most? World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, or the Gulf War? 13. Have you been politically active during your lifetime? What political party have you voted for? 14. Which presidents have you voted for? 15. What events or trends in the media have you disliked the most? Why? 16. How do you feel about racial and religious prejudice? 17. Have you ever dedicated yourself to a cause? Which ones? 18. Which charities did you contribute to and why? 19. Which scientific discoveries or advances have interested you the most? 20. How do you view the world today? Has it stayed the same, become more evil, or become better? 21. If you could change a world event that has happened, which one would it be and why? 22. Were you involved in your community? What community projects have you done? 23. What do you think was the most historically significant event of your lifetime? How did it affect you? 24. What do you feel are the most important problems facing our country? 25. If you could reverse the discovery of something for the good of mankind, what would you pick? 26. If you could name the most worthy cause compared to all others, what would it be and why? 27. What is your view on abortion? 28. How do you feel about same-sex marriages and homosexuality? 29. Has the economy ever impacted your parents or you personally? 30. What clubs or groups did you belong to? Why? Questions on my beliefs about spirituality and religion. 1. Do you have a philosophy on life? What's your best piece of advice on living? 2. What was your religion growing up? What church, if any, did you attend? 3. What does Jesus Christ mean to you? If you are not Christian, what deity is important to you and why? 4. What have been the turning points in your spiritual life? 5. Do you believe in God? If so, how did you come to believe in Him? 6. What have you done to build your faith in God? 7. What do you feel is the purpose of life? 8. What makes a good person in your eyes? What makes a bad person? 9. What do you believe happens to our souls when we die? 10. Are you afraid of dying? What will you miss the most? What are you afraid of? 11. Has your faith ever been tested? What did you do? Did it destroy or build your testimony? 12. When was a time that you went out of your way to help a person? What did you do? If you haven't subscribed to our channel, you probably will not see us again. If you have, congratulations, you are growing every day.